Rod's quiet. He leans in and he says, "What are we talking about?" We're talking about being here, man.
Boom.
We are talking about being live at the WTGS 2021 Fall Symposium, where we're unmasking new plays in the Permian Basin. I gotta wait. I gotta wait. Make sure we're going live. You know, we don't know if the camera's running. So we're live. We just got the nod.
Hell yeah.
And I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy, man. And I see happy people. I see happy people. I see a good vibe, and I see excitement. And at the same time, geologically, the technical stuff, the innovations are just skyrocketing right in front of us. Like, we're on that front line. We caught the wave. We're on it, right? And now let's move forward, doing the best we got with what we have.
Right on.
Best we got with what we have. So that's the PBE podcast, and we're going to go live with Ronco Bianco.
Yes, sir.
Introduces himself as Ronnie Bianco.
Eddie.
Wave.
He didn't know what to do. He's like, there's a bunch
I was
of
told
people
I had to
over
be
there.
more professional this time when I was on the microphone. I don't know what to say anymore.
Hey, here's
What do I do with my
Limits his
hands?
vocabulary.
Shit, I got
that's
it
for
out.
sure.
Okay, it's out there. Everybody can relax.
This carpet is from Ron Bianco. Thank you for donating this carpet, by the
My
way.
pleasure for the Baptist carpet.
The red
That was
carpet.
awesome.
Vintage
Yes.
red.
Red carpet.
I took this off a cue.
Almost maroon.
So let's just run through. Troy Tittlemeyer, PBE podcast host. Skips, what do we got?
Over here we have a couple Permian legends. First and foremost, Stony Pollock. Probably the best, I'm going to say, one of the best, if the best geologist in the Permian Basin.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Pretty stellar.
Hey.
He could second that. He could second that.
Settle down.
Yeah.
We don't
Hey,
need to
man,
come
hey,
out firing on all
hey,
cylinders.
hey,
Come out the best.
I mean,
January is
I
raise time.
I gotta
That's
show
all I'm saying.
respect, man. Respect is due. And we have another fellow Geo, Andrew from Fairfield.
Andrew Lewis,
Hey,
what's
how's it
up?
going, everybody?
Soon to be the best.
One day. Lofty aspirations.
And then this side, who do we got?
Well, we got Ronco Bianco, the geophysicist.
Chilling.
Right, Fasken geophysicist.
Yes.
Chilling.
As well as the legendary Bruce Carr.
Bruce Carr.
Legendary.
The legendary Bruce Carr.
Legendary.
History of Bruce Carr goes back a long ways on the seismic side. You really
Yeah.
understand the difference of what the trace data, what the recording capabilities of old seismic versus the recording capabilities of new seismic. That's what you have been doing out here for so long, and you've put together a high trace density data set for us to evaluate. We have posters of it. We're making discoveries
Yeah.
here. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's all about analyzing what these guys are trying to do, and then trying to figure out what are the holes that we didn't collect in the past,
Yeah.
and then say, okay, how do we go out and get that information, and then what can we do with that information? And it's going to open a whole new can of worms, whole new set of doors.
Wow.
I believe so.
Man, that's exciting. Skippo, you've seen the data.
It's gorgeous.
I mean,
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
It is beautiful. From anyone who can appreciate good seismic data, it is beautiful.
onshore seismic data, and this is Summit Burma. This is people that you talk to all over the
Permian data specifically. I'm going to
Yeah.
say compared to the other data sets that I've seen in the Permian, it is beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to explain why.
Stoney. He's the producer of the show. If you
Why
can't
is
tell.
it beautiful?
Why is it Stoney?
That's the question.
Stoney. Now, to be honest and to be fair, get me behind your eyes on this. How long have you actually been interpreting the data? Because it takes a long time to get it, acquire and shake and get it all processed. I mean, that is a major development that you guys have all been intimately involved with. How much interpretation have you been able to sit down and just chew on this stuff?
That's.
Ron?
Well, I mean, where do you want to start?
How long will you be
From
interpreting
concept,
the data?
Bruce and I have been messing with this
the
for.
real question is how long will it take you to interpret this?
Oh, that's the easy part. No. Once you
Are
guys
we
give it
talking
to me,
about
I can do the
10
magic
10
and make everything make
years,
sense.
14 years. I mean, come on now.
That was.
Okay,
Bruce and I have been doing this for 4 years. It was a year of concept
yeah,
from
so
nothing.
run us through the timeline. When do we start?
Yeah.
That, honestly, I called every contractor in the Permian and said, look, let's not talk about money. Let's do this.
2017.
Let's just do this as an academic exercise. I want double-digit fold at the Queen. I want to see the channels. I want to see what
Wow,
the
shallow.
freshwater aquifers at the top. How do we do this? And Bruce was the only one that got excited.
Yeah.
And actually wanted to be a part and wasn't like, well, I got to talk to my mother. Bruce is just like, let's go. Like, what's up?
Who was that?
That was it. You don't want to know the guy's name. He's standing over there right now looking. He knows.
That's Brucey Brew right there.
But no, that took a year.
Oh,
And
my
when we
God.
finally got it down, then it took about a year to convince the Fasken family to buy into it. And
Wow.
now it's been 2 years of
Collection
geologic,
and
geophysical
processing.
interpretations.
Wow.
Well,
It's been an
before
experience.
that,
I'm
before
proud.
that,
I'm
we
happy
were
to be a part.
Yeah, before that, we were trying to do a smaller part because our oldest data was on the west side of the ranch, on the shelf, and we decided, let's not just do pieces because Bruce had gone
had a
through
lot of
and
pieces.
merged
I already
all
did
these
all the
pieces.
pieces.
For
I
us.
was tired of putting
we,
pieces
We
together.
did the best we could with that data, and we did all right with it. But we really had to acquire, at this level, the whole thing, and it ended up being how many squares total, along with Mud City?
573?
It's 573 square
570.
miles.
With
of,
our piece was
265-ish.
Yeah, you got tails around the outside and stuff. So you're up to 278, and you're at half fold at the edge of the ranch on the east side and the north side, and you're at full fold and more on the west side where it's steep. So it's
'Cause of the
it's
central
good.
basin.
which
platform.
we've never been able to define that platform, that margin before.
Really?
So that's what this data is going to enable
Define
us to
it specifically in your reservoir horizon, or define it structurally through the whole
do. Well,
section.
it migrates,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got your lower Paleozoic Tobosa Basin.
No carbonate really.
Yeah, and then you got your end of the Mississippian, end of the Pennsylvanian. We
Banks.
popped up the platform.
Central Basin plops
and we
up.
just see noise up through that whole interval, and on up into your Grayberg. And everybody always thought, well, the Grayberg's connected from the platform off to the platform. But if you saw Charlie's talk this morning, the
Fantastic.
Guadalupean
Yeah.
sequences.
Fantastic.
We're going to be able to define those sequences in full from the platform to the middle, because nobody's ever messed with the Midland Basin before. It's always been in the Delaware because you got the Guadalupes you can tie back to.
Jeez.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Charlie's talk this morning was
Wow.
perfect. I was sitting there going, "Yeah, I think I saw that. Ooh, what about that?" So it was
Man.
Good stuff.
No, it is. It is. I know it is, because I got to work with you guys setting up the show, like kind of talking about the data and giving us some history on this stuff. I mean, you guys have had a heck of a team working on this data set for sure. And so the value is sequence stratigraphy timelines, shallow data that you actually have to look at. You're actually looking at data that's been captured of the shallow. You're talking to the
Stoney,
hazards of.
what do you think's the shallowest, or Ron? What do you think's the shallowest?
Shallowest
that
is
we've-
probably
Santa Rosa.
What's that?
Santa Rosa. Would you agree?
Well,
Depth-wise, where are we at there?
But for oil reservoirs, we're talking
oil.
Grayberg Queen, but we developed the Santa Rosa, which is the Triassic, at 1,000 feet.
So
1,000
you
feet.
You thinking?
So we
you're getting
developed
there?
the Santa Rosa
I
for
don't
frac
think I
water,
can. Like,
and we can see.
We're mapping it.
You're
Like,
mapping the
1,000
Santa
feet.
Rosa.
And
Yes.
that is the entire point. Is this in devising this survey? It's we're very lucky to be at Fasken, where if it makes oil, like we're in the business of selling oil commodities, right? We're not in the business of selling shares. So if there's hydrocarbons on this ranch, they want to monetize it. And so the point in doing this was, this is an all-encompassing 3D, and it's the first one I've ever heard of or worked, where we can prospect the freshwater reserves. We need to produce the wells outside of just finding the reservoirs, mapping those out, and having deep enough targets so we can dispose of it. So you're talking about a 3D that really you can do everything you need from
Surface
start
to
to finish.
basement. Yeah.
Surface to
love it.
basement. That was a
There's no
criteria.
reprocessing this
Basement
thing
to
for the
surface.
wolf camp
Sounds
or
it.
anything like that. This is a product that a geoscientist can use start to finish at this company and bring and add that value to that company. 'Cause that's what our job is. Our job is to make it as easy as possible for the engineers to get the oil out of the ground and sell it down the pipe. The better we are at that, the better everything goes.
So
That's-
how long was the timeline of like figuring out kind of the shortcomings of what you had and then how to get what you actually needed? Because there's so much extra data we're collecting. 100 times trace density is where we're at.
100 times.
Oh, it's a completely different picture. The structural complexity, the stratigraphic complexity, and then going back to the shallow reservoirs. Seeing how fractured that and how much deformation is in the Santa Rosa. I've never seen anything like this before.
What?
To be
You're
honest,
seeing that kind of stuff in the Santa Rosa aquifer.
That's why. That's
Dude,
what we were talking
that-
earlier. If we reshot this kind of thing to image the Capitan up in the Northwest Shelf in Eddy County.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
We're trying.
Could you imagine actually being able to image all those interfingering
Absolutely.
sands coming off
Wow.
or salts? That'd be amazing.
I was
Even
gonna
stuff
say,
in
yeah,
the
the way-
Delaware Mountain Group, I
Huge
think
thing.
you'd see a whole lot more detail there.
Yeah, I was going to say the way the Yeso would have been developed itself too would have been just
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. It's
The Yeso, the Northwest Shelf
Yeah.
Yeso play.
I know that's bread and butter,
Cranberry
dude.
Paddock and
Yeah.
all that. Dude, wow. Okay, I was blown away because we're talking about Triassic. You were talking about the Santa Rosa Triassic age, and you're seeing structure, obvious structure through that. That's capturing the structure during Triassic time. You know, after Pangea's come to a close, after all that settled out, and then you got Triassic sediment and reservoirs, and they're breaking a specific way based on the regional, you know, tectonics, and you're seeing that, and that's important in the story. I mean, that's super important in the structural story of that whole system. Wow. Did you guys see Zeph's talk? Zeph Zapolsky. Did you see his thesis? It was built on the back of Skip's thesis.
The lineaments, yeah.
Yeah, those lineaments. Wow. I thought that the significance there, I thought, Skips, tell me one significance from his talk, Skips. You start, and then I'm going to tell you what I got from his talk.
As far as how those lineaments propagated through the Goldsmith field.
Oh, please. Yeah,
Yeah.
you talk about that because I'm talking about the deeper part.
Well, the deep part itself, right? The Dorbeck paper, beautiful, right? Talking about block rotation and what's going on structurally above it. But in particular is when you look at the production of that Goldsmith field and you overlay those lineaments over it, you can look and see, you know, these wells or these lineaments are either A, thief zones where, you know, you're water flooding and that's what's taking your water, or B, you know, across these lineaments, how's the production overall, right?
Wow.
It's really going to be like a test to see as far as, hey, when we sweep and when we design this sweep, all right, are we going to utilize these faults or are we going to stay away from them?
Right on. That's pretty cool. Did you watch his talk?
Totally.
Did you watch his talk, Bruce? You got one for his talk?
I did not get that one in, but
Oh, I didn't
I
know
got
that was in.
access to the virtual, so I can go back and watch it.
That's right.
I see what you did there.
That was good. That was brilliant.
And what everyone in this hall should be doing.
You're right.
Go back and
know that you
rewatch it.
definitely can go back, rewatch, pause, stop,
Yeah,
rewind.
They're-
Very cool.
Accessible for 6 months, right? 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Very cool. So did Ron sum that up pretty good then, as far as the value that you guys are getting, Stoney, out of the, you know, it's, as an operator, if you're getting all this new data in, compiling it, making sense of it.
You need to ask us that in about 6 months to truth, because you know we're still waiting on the final data.
Right.
It's coming November
Yeah, yeah,
1st.
We're
Bruce?
close to the final P wave data, the compressional
P-wave data.
So we'll talk about that stuff later, but we got a
Wow.
whole new set of shear wave data coming out of this.
Here we go.
Which will be
3C.
a groundbreaker. Now don't get me started now.
Well, I mean, and that was the point. Like that, it was not like
Huge
that's a
part of it.
byproduct.
That's
that was
ultimately the
this
point.
was
Yeah.
designed to collect that and try to be the first to actually prove the effects of shear out here. It's not a byproduct. We did this all by design.
So
That's very exciting.
economics aside, I need to know, what are you most excited about as far as a geologist about this? Personally, economics aside.
Economics aside.
Economics aside, just Stoney, the rock man.
So if you're in your brain, you've been looking at this data
We-
on this ranch for so long.
Okay, so for the first time, we will be able to adequately characterize the faults on the survey.
Wow.
Before, we just saw noise that, we knew there was a fault there. Here, I think we're going to be able to tell exactly how, the movement, the kinematics of some of these faults.
What about the facies changes? Are you going to be able to detect the facies changes coming off the platform?
Absolutely. That would be equally exciting about it, as seeing because before the platform edge was just noise.
So
now
what-
we'll be able to see those terminations.
Why was the platform noise before?
It's pretty basic. I mean, it's simple. And the reason we collected those 3 VSPs, like full walkaways, is because
Yeah.
you can't shoot seismic data over from a platform to deep basin and assign it the easy velocity that your team gets in the deep basin. Expect
be
that's going
totally
to transverse.
different.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have platform carbonates that do not have the same velocity as transitional
For sure.
slope carbonates out to the deep basin. It's
Big
an
lateral
entirely worked
velocity.
system. So by adding these 3 VSPs in these areas, you minimize
So do
all
you
that
think
and
the
get correct.
velocities were wrong on the initial?
I promise
I know
you they were
they
wrong.
did.
They weren't wrong.
I did 'em.
They
They
were
were.
real wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the first time we've had a true
I'm not going to say it.
velocity.
Because I mean,
Maturing. They're very incorrect. And that's why you just get noise. Anytime on that break, any data that I've seen. So that's one of the more exciting things about this, to be honest.
Sorry. No, no.
I mean,
Some years?
oh, hell yeah.
Oh, that was a good answer. I appreciate that. That was a good answer. That was good. You guys were right. Yeah. But you were coming in with something. No. But well, I mean, piggybacking off of that,
don't know what to do
I
with
think
both of
Ron
these.
makes an extremely good point. Right, when these surveys are designed, right?
You're surprised.
What?
Don't sound surprised.
Yeah, for most people, it's surprising, but it's good. Good job, Ron. But what do you want me to do? Pat you on the back?
give him a cookie.
Give me a cookie.
But no, I think that is taking that into account is so important, right? Is because, hey, when we're dealing with those platform carbonates versus when you're dealing with the deep basin, right? When you acquire that seismic, right, everything's usually cookie cutter, right? We're going to do this all the same. And then they come back and they're like, oh, why is the data not good? And it's like, well, these are things that you needed to think about from a geologic perspective before you even went out there and like created the acquisition parameters. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. It makes me think something you talked
You love?
You're not live.
They shut you down, man?
Hey, train. Is that thing broken?
Yeah.
Did it just break on us? It doesn't want to. It doesn't want to hear what I have to say. Is what it's telling me. This one's not doing anything through the speaker.
Keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. Try to recover from this. Oh, we got water. This is a perfect break. Yeah. Catch anything, man. I'd catch anything you throw
You
at
probably
me.
wanted a beer, didn't you?
Anything. Baseball, beach ball, horseshoe. Oh, I would have caught that. No problem. I had that thing. Oh, break it.
I saw that.
Oh, here they come.
Oh, over the top. I almost had the reflection. Try one more time. This is a perfect break right now. My eye-hand coordination, it's like I go into the Matrix. When
We're good.
all right.
We're good. No more. No
Quick
more.
commercial.
Oh, all right. One more.
Hey, look at he's ready.
Pass the rock.
He's ready to throw. All right, into the show.
Okay.
Man, all right, where was I going on this
Acquisition
conversation?
parameters.
Acquisition.
And what Bruce was talking about. So, Bruce, the understanding of the velocity change between the original shoot and the last shoot, you got me locked into the idea that when we shoot seismic, you don't have here's the parts you have. You don't have much information about what it is. You're kind of going into this chaos and you're pulling out from the chaos things that make sense and that the geology is doing to the sound, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're collecting an acoustic wave that travels through the earth here, and to do that, you need to sample it from a near point to get it to anchor a near offset, which we didn't do in the past. And then you need to anchor it with far offsets, which we didn't do very good in the past either. And then you really need to anchor it with full azimuthal directions. You have to have stuff coming in from all angles.
Yeah.
If you get all of that, now you can build velocity models, because the old velocity models didn't have enough offset to give you the right velocity. You can use a lot of velocities to flatten that out. And as you're coming off the platform, if some of that stuff is changing anyway, velocity-wise, some of it's slowing down because it's got more shale. Some of it's speeding up because it's getting carbonated as it thins out.
Wow.
So you have this lateral velocity thing going on, but you had a minimal amount of information to calculate that information.
Wow.
We're fully calculating that now.
Dude, that's
out to
amazing.
40, 45 degrees. And so that's a big deal. That was a piece of the puzzle that was missing before.
Wow.
And so that was one of the criteria, was to get that information.
I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but can we talk about why are we going to do this like this on every shoot moving forward, or was this like economically special in some way?
I mean,
This
I
is
think
where we
a
want
big
to go.
part of it's just, there's a lot of data out there. There's a lot of, well logs and things that you can integrate into processing. So in addition to just tight sampling and doing things right on the acquisition side, make use of all your other data, integrate everything else you have in an area, because a lot of this stuff's been shot before. Sea Ranch was shot before, a bunch of different pieces. Started to get a good idea of what that structure looks like. Sure, those velocities are going to change, shoot some VSPs. Let's get a better idea of, of how that goes. You know,
Wow.
look at the sonic
I
logs.
think it's important to really get to the value point, and I think that's what these guys are going to be pushed on this next year when they actually put the drill bit down.
Right.
Oh.
Is
Oh, look at that guy. You're going to be standing on the rig. Got the company hat on.
We already do that.
Oh, man.
No. It's
exciting
It's
stuff.
exciting what's
Yeah.
happening, and that's the value will be proven with production, right? That's
Yeah.
trying to say, like we said, we spent 30% more on this than a typical to get all this data, and that
it's
maybe
100
before we get
times
finished.
the data, but it's 30% more. So.
Once and delineating, going to a company and giving actual value of their property is very difficult for scientists to do. Mostly because we have extremely limited data. Either the
Right.
geologists don't have enough well logs to give an accurate description,
Sure.
or the seismic is so old and outdated or
Yeah.
coarsely shot that you're just lying. Or you're doing the best you can, but it's crap, right?
Hey,
Yeah, I
man, that was an interpretation.
Take it
Don't
till you
call
make
me
it.
a
I get
liar.
it. No. You knew that was terrible.
I mean, for real.
I really thought it was a good idea. It looked like a hot dog. I thought maybe it's the shape. I don't know. Anyway.
Like when I first got to Fasken, one of the big things Stoney and I we're trying to work on was along strike of that ranch, you have wolfberry plays that work vertically, and then as you go travel along strike, it completely cements up, and you have a
Wow.
completely different system.
Wow.
And it's
Right.
with the
Oh.
way things were shot. You can obviously send the seismic out to get reprocessed and have inversion work done with a company, but it's always wrong.
Yeah.
It's never ties back to production.
Didn't
Well,
collect
again,
it.
right, when
That's
you're
what it
working
is.
with data that's
Yes.
bad, right?
Exactly.
Doing inversion on it, there's no
Actually,
point,
the
right?
data you collected was okay.
You
You
need to
didn't
understand.
actually collect the data you needed.
Right.
So the old data had information in it, but you missed. And this is kind of the talk I give at the SEG is there's missing data. So the old data was okay, but it just was light. It didn't have a lot, and it's only going to give you so much information. And it's not going to give you the right velocities. It's going to give you something that's a narrow azimuth. It's not going to give you the super steep dipping stuff. It's not going to change it. It's not going to help you on the elastic properties as much because you don't have enough offset, enough angles to put together. Those were all the criteria. We're going to try and collect this data set to go after and hunt down
That's right.
everything that's out there.
I think it's two things. It's data and analytics, right? We're in a statistical age right now. Everything's driven by statistics.
Lot of data.
But without good quality data, your analytical tools can't be predictive, right? And so
To
your
a degree,
analytical
right,
tools are
right,
only
right.
as good as the data you put into them.
That's right. That's right. It's one of the big complaints of big data, and with this AI and all that stuff, they go, well, we might need a little more data.
and that's the point, though, right? Is once you QC and you vet that data, good data, right,
Yeah.
and then you run it through, that's where the value comes in. But when it's the same thing, garbage in, garbage out,
Sure.
right?
Say
That's
it all
where
the
And
that
time.
especially if you're asking it to do something that it just can't do, like you're explaining.
And in this data, one of Ron's criteria early on is we described it no fake data. Okay, so I work for a processing company. Or
Should
I
never
did.
say fake data.
Yeah, I don't know if that's. I don't know if it get canceled
fake
if I
data.
say fake data or
It's
not.
fake data. It's all
It's
fake.
fake data.
Is it fake
All
data?
right, it's
Ron didn't want
interpreted
any-
data, man. It ain't fake. It's
not. It's
interpreted.
real data. But the point being is we wanted to make sure we had the real data that we didn't have to create in a processing center because a lot of data gets created. So we wanted to make sure, and I'd seen too many people get burned by creating data, especially in the short offset domain. We wanted to get to what the real data was and then make sure we had a solid anchor before we did any sort of high-end weird creation of data. And so this is 1,024-fold standing on its own. There's no
At 41 and a quarter.
at 41 and a quarter.
And I will say this: like the synthetics are the bed tie thickness on these synthetics, without having like bandwidth extensioning or frequency widening, any of that crap, is so close. It's actually ridiculous. Like it's so close. I emailed this stuff to Bruce, and I was like,
Remember the big unconformity?
Prove it. Prove it. I want to see it. Prove it.
Wow. No,
Working on
that's
But I think the real question that you asked Troy was what's the value, and I think that's what these guys will get to.
Oh man, you guys are on it, man. You guys are it. You're creating it. You're literally creating value, which is a big difference in what people think progression really is. When you're creating value, that's a big difference than just kind of moving along and everyone's happy with what you got or whatever. You guys are creating value. That's amazing. That's a creation. That's amazing. I want to go back to the thesis just real quick. and I'll tie it with this. You guys are talking about the value,
Full
right?
circle. I like it.
Full circle. We're talking economics, right? We're trying to make better
back.
wells. Ronco, I can't say it any better. You know, your introduction reminded me a lot like the night Skips met you.
I don't think we can do it.
I don't think we can go that
I sat
a
back and
professional
I
environment.
just watched
family show,
Ronco in his moment. I just sat back. I got to watch it. It was a cinematic adventure, man.
Rip out my soul.
I thought it was great.
It's a lot of love, man.
Tying it all back to economics, tying it all back to this word value or creating value. The thesis, in my opinion, for Fusselman time, under the big Pennsylvania nonconformity that Zeph's talking about in that thesis, it's popping almost perfectly east-west, which tells us our least amount of our tension is north-south. Now that we know tension at that time, which lines up perfectly on time with the antler orogeny and the Acadian orogeny, we have east-west compression coming through the whole country at that time. Is the Permian feeling it? His thesis says absolutely, it is. So if that's true, then what needs to happen on his thesis, and I think where I hope where you guys are going with this, is tying the production and the well logs to that feature. Give them all the vertical wells around that, give them all the logs, and tell them to look for porosity permeability. That's it. Just map porosity and permeability. Do an inversion on it. See if it stacks up. If it stacks up, it's probably going to stack up in some kind of structural relationship, Skippo. Off those big features is going to come conjugate faults, either at 60 degrees or 120 of that feature. It just breaks that way and it moves that way. You should be able to find that. You should be able to see that, and I think you can map it, man. You guys can map it, and that's the next step. I want to see that paper.
It is. I mean, the next step is the original first step, right? Is you figure out the Basin evolution. You figure out deposition environments and zones and where you're at. And that just hasn't been done yet. And it's not, every geologist would love to have that, but you're living in the world you live in with the data you have.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this is a long-term game for Stoney and I, and we're here to figure this out and drill responsibly. Honestly,
So excited.
And I mean,
That's the way it is.
and the story that you guys are going to be able to put together for the Permian, just it's unbelievable, right?
gonna go
'Cause
in textbooks.
I mean, going from speculation, right? Like, hey, look, this is coming from the Matador Arch, right? Is that where these sediments are coming from?
Sure.
These low stand, sediments that are coming from the north. How is it actually shedding off of the platform? How are these sediments actually being deposited from platform to margin to basin, right? I'm stoked for you guys. You guys are gonna.
We're also fortunate,
Talk to Charlie
I guess.
about that one.
Stoney, didn't you say you guys could see
it'll
the
fit.
D or something sandstone that you had speculated on something, one of the Wolfcamp E or D or F or the XYZ? I don't know what it was.
I don't even know if.
F.
This
I'm
is
a
news to
geophysicist.
me.
I don't know what I'm talking about now, but wasn't there like something you could actually see that you could see in the logs, but you couldn't see, but now you're picking up?
Whoa.
Can you,
There's more of that than you would think, and it's it's we're not ready yet. We don't have the final
Right.
product, but as we sit today, it's even bigger than the stratigraphic stuff. Is the structural complexity is more than any of us ever really thought before was there, and that's what that is one of the major controlling drivers
Been a
of
big
deposition,
surprise.
which gets us these features. You have to go back to everything goes back to that, and Stoney has been doing. I don't know how many wells you've done petrophysics on with Icon, and as soon as this data drops, it goes to Andrew's group with Stoney's knowledge of the geology, and they're going to apply this all back into the seismic.
It's all
that is
it's
going to be
integrated
very,
into ours.
very
The
interesting.
papers, man. The papers, man.
Very
Wow.
interesting
Yeah.
stuff.
We're
And
gonna learn.
Speaking of papers, Andrew speaks tomorrow.
Got one tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
what
Big-
time? What's the schedule here? What are we talking about?
it's 11, I think, or something.
It's around 11. So
Right
11.
after the first break?
11.
Right
Pretty
after the
much.
first
I like
break,
that.
you
Yeah,
go
I think
I
live?
think, I think it's the first one right after the first break. Yeah.
We're going to be
I better
streaming
see
live for
everyone
you.
in that exhibit hall at 11.
Yes.
I know-
Exhibit Hall, 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Hold on, let's make
It's
sure.
a good one. I mean, I worked with Stoney, Ron, and Bruce. All of us put this together.
And Andrew's got the goods.
Always
I mean,
prepared, dude.
Always
I love working with
prepared.
Stoney.
11:15.
11:15. Get there
He'll
at
do that.
11.
He'll do that
Get there
with like
early.
my performance evaluation too. He carry that shit around, come into a meeting. hang on. Let me pull this out.
And,
It's like, how many pockets are in that thing?
okay, so Andrew's speaking tomorrow.
Cool.
About this data set, and if you're in Denver next week,
Yeah.
APG SEG, which
I'm
is a
speaking up
combined
there on that.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Bruce
Yeah.
will be speaking
I'll speak on Monday.
next Monday.
Yeah, Monday at 1.
One. So
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in the acquisition historical section.
yeah.
Man,
History of acquisition. So.
And then maybe if
we could be there. Can we
maybe
be
if
there?
we can
gotta-
I'm
get
gonna be
some
there.
work
I'm gonna
done,
be living there, so yeah.
we'll
I'll
give
be
some
there.
talks next year
Nice.
on the interpretation.
nice.
Yeah,
wow.
can't
I'm going
wait
to
for
keep you
that.
to that, Stoney.
Yep.
I said maybe.
See how these wells do first.
I'll see you at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show at
I
least.
will see you there.
I will see you then. We'll get an update. I hope you're coming. I hope everybody comes, man.
Depends on who's
Tucson,
driving.
Tucson in January, February in Tucson. The city of Tucson brings every rock from the world, literally, to that place.
I've not been, but it's on my bucket list.
The
I might as well go this year, right?
Should go.
Next year?
The
Should
planet
go.
feels it, I think. All that rock literally flies in on planes. I think there's like seismicity that week because there's so much more added rock to the whole area. I'm not kidding. It's amazing. You can't go a
Do
month
they have to
and see
pump
the
up the
same
tires
rock.
on the planes before they land?
Maybe a side field trip to the graphene
Oh,
prospect.
Yeah.
What?
Ooh, do a side
Wait,
trip.
What?
Do
wait a
That's
minute.
happening.
Oh
Did this
my
just
goodness.
happen?
Andrew,
All we
got your
need is somebody to
geology
Gem and
sponsor
Mineral
that.
Show short course happening now. Graphene.
WTGS event, black shale that has graphene in it in western Arizona. That kind of has some, that rings to the
Okay.
Permian.
I ain't been to Arizona yet.
You haven't been to Arizona yet? We can do a graphene field trip. We can walk up to the outcrop. The graphene's sitting up right there, by the way, and there's like a 5-page little write-up. That's actual graphene. If you chop that down right now,
He
crush
said
it
he could
up,
catch anything. You should have thrown
turn
it.
it
Thank you,
into a
sir.
paint it on a wall, plug wires into it, you'll get a current. With that material, that's amazing material. It's right in his hand right now.
Anyone else want to see it?
Can I get some?
Let the people. You're not invited on the trip anymore.
Look at that, dude. Look at the structure on that. It's overturned Grand Canyon section. The field trip would be lights out. Legendary lights out. We know the guys who own the claims, not a problem. Don't touch the azurite, though. If you
Ooh, they
touch
got
the
azurite there?
malachite or the azurite on this outcrop, it's fighting words.
Those are beautiful copper minerals, though. So
That's
we gotta,
right. That's why we're there. Well, you can't dig it out of the rock, all right? Now, if you traverse your way down one of
Can I
those
borrow
old
it?
shafts,
Am I allowed to borrow it?
Tell me what a good time.
no,
No, I
I
can't
just
borrow
keep
it.
it for
Just
50
rock
years on my
hammer, not
rock
in your
cabinet. I'll give it
hand.
back when I'm done.
That thing's cool, man. That thing's really
Very
cool.
cool.
Okay, I'm excited for you guys. I'm stoked. I know
Yeah.
it's anxious. I know it's
Yeah.
it's not all perfect and ready to go. You guys are riding the line of you're creating value. There's risk when you create value. You can't undo that. That's natural, man. You can't be. You just recycle it into motivation, opportunity, optimism. Get to the work. Get up before your alarm clock goes off because you guys are creating value, man. I'm so excited to just see what happens, man. We get to do that.
No, this is going to be amazing.
And there's a lot
grateful,
of-
very grateful for the opportunity. Fasken put the trust in our department, Stoney and I, and
Big
Adam.
time. Big
Honest
time.
to God. And none of this would have happened without Bruce, Fairfield, Andrew's input, all that stuff. Like I said, Bruce is the only one who was ready to nerd out for a year just to get this going.
He loves it.
And that's what it
That's
took.
what I live for.
Bruce's
yeah.
life.
He recognized
literally
it.
Bruce's
Isn't that why we're all here,
That's
though?
not-
That's why we
right.
should
It's not
be.
blowing
That's-
smoke,
hey,
man.
that's
I'm
why
here.
I'm here.
It's the love of the science, and it's the love of knowledge, and it's the
Yes.
love of figuring out the unknown.
Yes.
That's what it's
the
about.
curiosity.
Well, in this
man.
data set, I mean, we're just scratching the surface of what's in it. We'll be working this data set for years because there's so much more stuff that we haven't even.
Especially with the shear component.
Well, especially with the shear component, but even the P-wave stuff. I think we're going to find some interesting stuff that we just hadn't really thought about in the past. So there'll be a lot of other technical papers and stuff that we're going to go look at and figure out, especially in the near surface. You talk about the Santa Rosa. This is the first data set we've really had super short offsets to where we can actually build a true near surface tomography model for things like depth imaging and stuff like that. So there's so much that we are just getting started with.
Man, I could tell. Yeah, that's the story. That's cool. I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys for doing this show.
Thanks,
you for
Troy.
sitting down,
Oh,
man.
thanks
Thank you,
Thank you guys so
Thank you,
much,
Skip.
dude.
Thank you, Troy.
Shout out to the IFF, Iron Freedom Foundation, man. What you guys
Thank
are
you,
doing,
sir.
that story that's being told there is amazing. Pay
Appreciate
attention
it.
to that, man. Thank you for what you do. Everything, man.
And thanks, Fasken.
Thanks
I
for
mean,
putting this on, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate the hell out of it, dude.
Right on, man. Thank
Thanks
you.
to
Thank you.
PBE.
Hey, can we let's take a moment to just enjoy what's in front of us? Just the conversations that are
Hey, what's up,
happening.
Josh?
Oh, give me one more. One more try.
High ball.
I don't for it.
Oh!
Look at those hands.
Hey, if I didn't have those amazing reaction time, I would have got hit by that.
You would have got that one in the face.
Yeah.
And my matrix turned on, and I dipped it. You see me? I ghosted that thing, and I didn't even feel it.
He was going to the league. He told me.
I didn't have enough time to get up. I didn't want to break things. I saw things that could break. I said, I can't use my hands. I got to move.
Damage.
We're losing it over there.
This has gone too far. This has gone on for too long, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Fairfield, I want you guys to stay for a minute, but Ronco and Stoney, thank you for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Right on, man. See you next time.
I'm out.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully next time we can get the Fasken family on the stage.
That'd be cool.
We can do it
Brucey
from
Brew, are we
the
bringing
jet.
this in? Are we bringing this in closer?
Oh, no, you guys can hang out there. We're just saying thank you for what you guys have done. The amount of time and attention you put on this. Obviously, we're talking about the real value here. You guys are contributing to creating the value. You are a part. You are that story, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that. So I wanted to say thank you guys for that and that time
and
you put in.
and how quickly you're turning this around. I mean, you're already giving talks on the data, which is awesome, right? Because most people would just shove it in their pocket,
Well, that's
wait for a later date. But like right away, you guys are.
That is a big thing that was important to Fasken. And I give a huge shout out to these guys. In a day and age when lawyers won't let you talk about stuff, Fasken wants us to talk about it. They want the industry to grow. They want things to happen. And that's a special place to be.
I think
It's
that's
so
huge.
cool.
And then you couple it with people who love seismic data.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Like how many times do we just talk about data every day?
How many 9.3 or how many 9C 3D VSPs do you get from surface to basement to integrate with your seismic?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
not just one, but three.
Right?
Okay.
What did that for you? That must have been.
It was a geek moment, big time. Yeah.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
You were on vacation for a couple of weeks after that came in. You had to just take it in. Happy birthday, Tracy Walker.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Anybody want to sing it? Is anybody up for singing it right now?
Let's sing. No, let's sing it. I think we should.
Are we doing if she was standing right here, I would say no question.
Have you
we would sing
heard
to
me
her,
sing?
Obviously, you haven't heard me. I couldn't have asked that question.
Are we doing karaoke right now?
No, we are not.
Turn the karaoke machine on. All right. Okay. No, if she was standing here, I would definitely sing. But yeah.
Not here. Yeah, she's not here with. We'll save it. We'll save it.
Fairfield Geotechnologies, thank you for joining the PBE podcast. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back up and bring up some people that's from the crowd. We're going to do a little happy hour, keep this thing going, and we're excited to be here with everybody. Thanks.
Thank you guys. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Good time.
Andrew, Bruce, always a pleasure.